Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? Hey. Thank you for bearing with us while we got the live stream up and running. It's important because not everyone can be here in person, so we want to make sure people at home can watch this. Hi, everyone watching from home. I am Lois. My pronouns are she, her. Visual description, I'm a white woman with mid-length dark brown hair, currently wearing an all-black ensemble. For anyone who doesn't know, we do visual descriptions for anyone in the audience or on the stream who may be blind or low vision to provide that access point.
Hi, and I'm the other co-executive director, Ellen. My pronouns are she, they, and I am wearing a red jumpsuit and white sneakers, and I have a hat on that is tan in color. My brown hair is sticking out there, and I usually have bangs that are hidden right now. Thank you all so much for coming.
Welcome to Town Hall number 1. Welcome to Fringe. This is such an exciting time. I've been making the joke all morning, but I do feel like it's true. It feels like the first day of school. We're walking in to meet new friends, to have new experiences, and to change the world with every one of your shows here today. So I'm so excited to go on this journey with you. Before we jump in, I want to do a land acknowledgement. The Hollywood Fringe acknowledges that we are on the unceded lands of the Gabrielino, Tongva, and Chumash peoples. Our statement serves as a practice as we commit to furthering our connection to Indigenous communities, past, present, and emerging. You can find out more about our land acknowledgement as well as resources at hollywoodfringe.org/land.
We also want to start off today's conversation with an acknowledgement of the attacks from ICE against our communities here in Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and beyond. We know you may have questions on how this will affect June and what we're doing as safety precautions as a community. And we want to assure you that we're actively thinking about that and putting together something with our Access Advisory Board and staff and Board of Directors to make sure that that goes into all of our safety plans that we have here at the festival. Last year, when the ICE raid started in the midst of our festival, we pivoted quietly with our venues to create a plan for safety, and that was sent out in a very discreet way to also protect the immigrants that are in our community. And so we will kind of take that as a learning cue and make that like a jumping off point as we talk with our venues about what their experiences are in the next couple of months, our artists who are active all around Los Angeles, and as well as our colleagues in Minnesota and beyond that are also facing this. So thank you all for talking to us about it, and we'll have a fully pledged plan ready by April 15th, and we'll have discussions about that more in April time when we have a little bit more information about what is going to be going on in Hollywood. And yeah, this occupation sucks. Fuck it.
Yeah, because it's too early, right, to put a plan together. So just know that we are consistently having that conversation, and you will be pulled into the loop as we get near. We're doing fine. Get closer to June. That way, our plan is current and best supports everything. Yeah.
And if you have a show where your content is specifically about immigration, or you feel like you might be targeted in any way, we really want to talk to you. If you have concerns just as a general public, we want to talk to you, and we'll make sure that it's in conversation with those who are going to be affected most. And to the artists that we know are hitting the streets, stay safe out there and look out for each other and take care of yourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a great way kind of to jump into the festival as a whole, because that's really what we're doing today. We're just word vomiting at you a bunch about the festival. But it is about community. That is everything. I know that our doors are open. We're a large festival, according to numbers, but it really is a small team, and we are very invested. So the door is open for any and all concerns that come up along the way. Okay, jumping back in, thanks to Jen and Greg. Jen over here. Jen. For hosting us at the Banani Theater, one of the venues available to rent for everyone still looking for a venue. This is being live streamed and recorded in case the live stream goes wonky. So no anyone watching from home, if anything goes on, don't worry. We have a backup and we'll make sure you get the content if anything happens. Hi. Thank you, Roddy, our programs director. Everyone say hi to Roddy. He is in the chat, so if you are joining on the live stream, feel free to jump in right there, and we will answer your questions and make sure you're involved here in the room. How many people in the room are new to Fringe? I love that. Hi, welcome to the family. I'm going to continue to say it until I've made sure to personally welcome everyone to the family. But that really is what Fringe is, and we're really thrilled to have so many new faces here. So welcome. Fringe is it's a huge topic. I won't pretend that this is going to be like a light, chill read. This is going to be a lot of information, and so no, this won't be the first time you're hearing it. Everything we say today is available on our website in the support portal. There are so many resources to you. So don't, like today, I think if you look into it going like, I want to learn as much as I can so that I can figure out what questions I have. That's kind of the place to jump into this. Otherwise, like there's no point in trying to write down all of the dates we say. This is just to get you in the mindset of what questions do I need answered before I jump in fully. So take a deep breath. It's going to be a lot, but you have a long time to really like gather everything you need to have a really successful Fringe journey. Resources that are available to you now. The Artist Hub is live at support.hollywoodfringe.org. There's a little button that says Artist Hub. That is your new resource for everything. We have it broken down, and I say we, Roddy did a fabulous job of organizing this, but it's broken up into stages. That way you don't have to try to read 50 articles in one sitting. Please don't do that. Be better to yourself than that. But it's broken up into really digestible sections. So if you're looking for marketing, if you're looking for budgeting, it's all broken down into phases. So definitely check that out. We also have support@hollywoodfringe.org. This is your new best Fringe pal. That is our email and the way to reach out to Fringe staff with any questions that come up along the way. During our off season, which technically this is kind of like our off light season, we promise a response within 72 hours, likely sooner, but 72 hours for sure. And then in May and June, we're on that most of the day. So 24 hours is going to be the longest you go without getting a response. Also check out our panels for 15 years worth of panels and workshops. If you're like, I want to dive in and really just absorb as much as I can, they're all available on our YouTube page at Hollywood Fringe. We also have a podcast, which started last year. So all of our recordings from last year's panels and workshops, as well as this year's, are uploaded onto our podcast. So check that out on all streaming platforms at Hollywood Fringe. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it. I don't really know how that works.
It's called On the Fringe.
Oh, it's called On the Fringe. Oh, it's On the Fringe in Hollywood. That's right. So definitely check that out. Also, you can schedule a one-to-one with Roddy. We know that like these group settings are so good to get a lot of the general information that you're going to need to do Fringe, but you're going to have specific questions about your show or about, you know, like certain venue needs you have. Feel free to go to the Artist Hub and book a one-to-one with Roddy so that you can have 30 minutes of dedicated time about your Fringe journey. Start getting involved on social media at Hollywood Fringe across all platforms, and then start using hashtag HFF26, not 25. It's going to take a minute to get the 26 down.
I'm still on 24.
I know. It's so true. But use hashtag HFF26 to start to market yourself, get to know the community. It's a great way to kind of see what everyone else is doing along the journey. Also, to make sure you're not missing a beat, make sure you're signed up for our newsletter. If you're signed up for our general newsletter, you're going to get a lot of this pre-stuff. And then once you register for the festival officially, you will get our participant email, which is going to be vital to make sure you don't miss a beat, along with deadlines and like hot tips, important information as far as your like participation in the festival. There's also a lot of opportunities, like free marketing opportunities that I promise you're not going to want to miss. So make sure once you do start getting your participant emails to check those. They matter. Okay, we're going to talk fast. I'm going to talk slower than I usually do, but I'm going to
talk fast.
Yeah. In fact, we should start this now, actually. We did this last year, and it kind of worked. I sometimes can energize their bunny. If I start to just go, let me know, and like give me like a good God woman, like I will try to slow down. It helps.
Perfect time to also mention that I'll be talking a little bit less and a little bit slower and with a little bit even more of a speech impediment because I'm getting some dental surgery tomorrow and I'm in pain. So just if I'm a little hard to understand, I'll be trying to speak slower to enunciate.
Yeah, yay, dental surgery. So we are going to talk decently fast to get through a lot of information, but we will do questions. So no, we try to break it up into sections or chapters. That way you don't have to hold on to your questions for the entirety of like the hour and a half spiel. So just hold on to your questions until we ask for questions, and that will help us all keep to the flow and get this all done. Okay, I think that's my first list. Ellen, I'm going to hand the applesauce back to you.
Thank you, Lois. What is the Fringe? Okay, so 1947, you're in Edinburgh, Scotland, and there's this curated international festival that comes into your town, and you're like, well, I'm an artist, and I want to perform. And this little kind kind of Rage Against the Machine festival popped up on the Fringes, and then it became the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, which is now the largest uncurated festival in the world. Everybody showed up like you're doing today. And it's spread to new cities and countries, and there's like 300 plus around the world now. There's conferences and everything. Fringe is a big thing, and here in Hollywood, we're really lucky to be the largest in the United States right now, which is pretty intense and crazy. And we're also very unique in the fact that 90% of our participating artists are local to Los Angeles County, because Los Angeles is a theater town, believe it or not, filled with artists who are so incredible, and I can't wait to see the work that you bring here. Participation in Hollywood Fringe is completely open and uncensored as long as your production team and show materials follow our code of conduct, which we'll go over in a little bit. By opening the gates to anyone with a vision, the festival is able to exhibit the most diverse and cutting-edge points of view the world has to offer. Yes, I'm reading. Additionally, by creating an environment where artists must self-produce their work, the Fringe motivates its participants to cultivate a sense of entrepreneurialism in the arts. Finally, we're a nonprofit company, the Hollywood Fringes, and we give 100% of box office revenue back to you. We want to be really clear. It is a pay-to-play model, and there's a couple of programs that we have to disrupt that inequity that creates. But at the end of you putting in this money, you do get 100% of your ticket sales, and that has been $5.8 million since 2010. So it's been a really wonderful impact on the Los Angeles economy, and thank you, artists, for investing in that way.
I think I'm already going off script, so this is a great start. Page 2, and I'm off script. But I think this has been a conversation in the World Fringe, like you talked about, especially today, actually. And I think it is important to know that, who is making buku bucks on theater arts? Let's be honest. It is a really tough industry. And so I think naming that Hollywood Fringe is expensive. Theater is expensive, and producing it is cheaper at Hollywood Fringe, but it's certainly not cheap. And so now is the time to start to figure out what your goals are. That way you can really focus your efforts on achieving those goals. We always say that 2 goals is the ideal, and I know you have something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you finish that. I thought.
Oh, it's just,
great thought.
Yeah. We're such a team. We're such a team. But figuring out what those 2 goals are now are going to make those achievable. And this is the time to start asking your fellow participants, the staff members, how to reach those goals and what they are.
Also, don't do Fringe as a risk. Do it as an investment in yourself. If you are feeling like this is risky for you, we aren't going away. You can do this next year. You can do it in a different thing. And there's so many opportunities for you to produce theater. Do it because it's right for your show. And we have a whole little blog that takes you on a journey on how to find out if it's right for your show, and all of that at hollywoodfringe.org/news, which is where we put that important participant newsletter info as well. So if you're like, I can't find the newsletter, you can always go to the news portion of our website.
I know, it's like your own cosmopolitan of what is right for me? What season is my season or whatever? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what Fringe is, because it's kind of an offshoot thing. It is a performing arts center, or nope, it's a performing arts. I'm done. No, we're doing fine. I want a performing arts center. No, it's a performing arts festival. That's what it is, a performing arts festival. It is open access with some boundaries, and we'll talk more about that. But it is open access, which means if you have a show, here is a platform for you to produce that show. It's community centered. We're going to say it over and over again. Community, community, community. That's what makes a festival special. That's why you're not doing a standalone run. That's why you're here, is because you're not doing it alone. And that's an important part of why Fringe is an exciting thing and why so many people come back every year. It's an opportunity to experiment with work, to bring new ideas. It's also has the freedom to fail because Fringe is less of a financial risk. Again, not saying it's not a financial risk, but it is less of a financial risk than booking a theater for your production for a month and not sharing that cost with other productions booked into that space. That's why we do the 15-minute load in, load outs, because you are sharing space with a lot of other shows. It's an opportunity to refine existing work, right? So a lot of people think it's for brand new work. It is, but it's also a place to refine work that you've already been working on or that has already premiered elsewhere. It's also an opportunity to build audiences. This network of artists exists as a way to cross-pollinate audiences. You will share more than just your ideas and your struggles and your highs, your lows. You will share audiences, because audiences, just like you are participating in a festival, they are too. So So like start to think about that now. How can you make sure that your audiences that you're bringing into the festival go see other people's work and they'll do the same, and then everyone gets more butts in seats, which is always good. So what isn't it? It's not curated. Again, unless your show breaks our code of conduct, we'll talk all about that in just a little bit. But it is not a curated festival. There are curated festivals within the Fringe model. We are not one of them. It's not a place to send your play for us to produce. I think that's important to note because that is one that does get confusing. We are not your co-producers. We are producing a platform to help you. We want to give you the tools. We do workshops, town halls, all of these things to make sure that you don't have to be a producer walking in to be a producer walking out. But that doesn't mean we are your co-producers and are the ones responsible for whether your show has success or failure. So know that now. Put that producer hat on and start to gather those tools. That way you can walk out of Fringe doing this all on your own without the festival, because that's our goal. We want this to be a part of your journey, not the destination. It's not a or it's an aesthetic. It's not an aesthetic. Well, yeah, it's not an aesthetic. We're right. It is right. So it doesn't have to be weird. We did write that wrong. Go team. But Fringe is often weird, right? It's often out of the box, experimental. It doesn't have to be. So know that if you're like, oh shit, like my play is really like, it's a dramatic play, a four-person show, that's fine. Like it doesn't have to be anything to be a part of Fringe. So that's something to note as you decide whether your show is right for this festival. We have a ton of programs within Fringe. So it's more than just like put up a play. Like now I already see you're diving in, which is huge. Like having made it to the first of these events is going to be epic for you as you continue down this journey, because now I know you won't miss any of these programs. We have the industry and press program. This is how we make sure you are connected to industry members who can potentially take you to the next level, to book your show for another run, or to cast members of your team in an upcoming show, and then press, of course, to get the word out about your show, or if nothing else, get those pull quotes. Pull quotes are everything, y'all. Ideally, this is, again, one stop in your journey, and pull quotes, things like building that toolkit that you can go sell to a venue who's going to pay you to be there, or go on tour and get the funding required to do that. Press is going to be helpful in that. Yes, grants. We have a hotspot program. This will be something you enjoy in June, but we partner with local businesses all over the Fringe zone to make sure that you and audiences have discounts to bars, restaurants, coffee shops, all of the things that need to happen in between shows, because it's a whole ecosystem, right? Theater is such a huge part of our local economy. We also have a volunteer program. We're a small nonprofit. We're going to keep saying it, but our team is really small. And so we have a volunteer program for things, especially in May and June. We'd love people to get involved. I find it's a great way, like the feedback we get is volunteers who just want to learn more about the festival, kind of dive in. Volunteering is a great way to give a couple of hours, but then really figure out the inner workings of like festival producing or festival admin if you're interested. So we hope to see some volunteers in the room. We also have the Access Advisory Board, which is an amazing group of artists who are committed to making sure our space is accessible. They are speaking to the artist experience and we are listening to them. So that's an amazing program. We have funding opportunities. The scholarship program has closed, and I promise anyone in the room who has applied, we are so close to notifying everyone. So keep an eye on your email. And then we also have the Artist Fund, which will open up in mid-February, and that's available to anyone who identifies as low income and local to Los Angeles.
And hasn't received funding in the last 5 years.
And that. Yeah. And hasn't received funding in the last 5 years from Hollywood Fringe. Please, if anywhere else can fund you, but ask you to self-identify as low income, because we also know that 80, what's the stat? 80
Too many
artists that participate in Hollywood Fringe and LA theater in general are low income, and so we don't ask for proof. We don't ask you to spend that time to prove you're low income just to maybe get a grant. And then should we announce how much it's going to be this year?
Yeah.
Yes, we should. This year we are upping that individual grant for the winners that are selected for the award to $1,000 to help with venue cost, registration, any of the things that come along with Hollywood Fringe. And that is done by a lottery. So it's just you self-identify, you fill out the application, and then we do a lottery to give as many as we can. It's all funded by our funding. So again, nonprofit, we have a commissioners club, and any donations made through that program, 25% of it go directly into that fund. So we're putting 25% of all of our funds into artist pockets. We also have the cabaret, which is also changing this year for any veterans who are returning, which is, I see a couple here. We talked about this in the postmortem last year. So y'all, we do postmortems at the end of every festival, and we genuinely take what y'all say into account and change things based on feedback. So this year, cabaret is going on the road. It's becoming a little bit of a field trip program. Yeah. And so keep an eye out for those. We'll be going into several different spaces to market your shows to people who are not already aware of Hollywood Fringe. So not super far away. We're not, leaving the state, but we are going to go out of Hollywood to make sure that we're bringing new audiences in. So keep an eye out for more information on that. We also have our Fringe HQ, Central Box Office, and Artist and Industry Hub. A lot more on that closer to June, but we'll have that physical space for artists and audiences and industry members to gather and Fringe.
Yeah.
Applesauce. Get content.
Yeah. So we're living in an uncertain time with economic downturn, with fires, with ice raids. People are feeling really strapped financially right now. People are extending themselves to just exist in society. And that makes you stressed. It makes you stressed going into every space that you're in. And it also makes you quick to turn on your fellow person. And it might make you feel sometimes like you're pitted against each other. And this is a space where we are so radically aware of the outside forces that are making us that these feelings happen, but also protecting our space. This is a safe space for people to create in, which means that we have behaviors that are not allowed in our space. Before we go into the behaviors that are not allowed in our space, one of the big things we like to talk about is our community ethos and why we do this. So Hollywood Fringe is not a curated space, but we do stand by our community ethos so that our entire uncensored body of work stands up as a platform against harm, not perpetuating it. Let's dive into what that is. This festival is built on a freedom of expression and lack of censorships, which means that we must maintain the utmost respect for one another to create a safe place for people to take risks within their work. We won't censor your words unless they are actively harmful or hateful against a protected group. For example, women, people of color, queer and trans folks, disabled folks, deaf folks, fat folks, religious folks, and the list goes on. There are limits to this uncensored nature, and that's set by our Access Advisory Board, our staff and board of directors. We have a very diverse community, one that often has more women and non-binary people producing than men. And we attempt to foster a community where these folks don't face the gendered harm that they face in a typical working environment. We're on a path to making this a more accessible space. This might mean that sometimes we might use disability-related terms that you're not used to hearing, or that you might have questions about, or an interpreter might block your view of us. We encourage you to take that as a learning opportunity. Google those terms and move seats if you're able to physically, and appreciate that you're able to make those movements while others are not. We are a space that is committed to anti-racism, not only through our words, but through our actions. In many environments, people face microaggressions and racism on a daily basis, especially right now. And at Fringe, we actively work to keep those behaviors out of our spaces. We are fiercely protective of our community ethos, and we reserve the right to ask anybody to leave our spaces at any time for any reason. This isn't to scare you, but actually to invite you on the journey to make our world a more wholly inclusive place where you are able to exist in community with one another. We try to engage folks in conflict resolution when violence is not present. Yeah, thank you for helping us create the space that has become this beautiful, beautiful Fringe. And we can't wait to tend that further with you all.
Yeah, 100%. Following this community or this ethos has allowed the work to stand out. The work can be vulnerable because you don't have to feel vulnerable as a human in these spaces. So the code of conduct is the next portion of this, and I'm going to read it to make sure all of the points are mentioned because we do take it very seriously, and not following it could end your journey at Fringe, and we don't want that. So the following are not allowed in our community: microaggressions, verbal and physical intimidation, hate speech and harassment, sexual harassment and assault, excessive consumption of alcohol and other legal substances, aggressive behavior, and disrespectful behavior. As you are navigating the festival, we ask that you are mindful of intention versus impact. intent is what you aim to achieve by an action or your words, but the impact is not always what the intention is, and can often or sometimes be harmful. So we want you to keep in mind that at Hollywood Fringe, we look at intention versus impact, and we look at the impact of what has happened, because oftentimes the impact is harmful, even if it's not intended. So please just keep that in mind as you're navigating the space and your fellow fringers. At Hollywood Fringe, we also keep in mind public versus private interactions. And this is important because we keep saying it, community, community, community. And it is easy to blur the lines. We can be community and still professional. And I think it's really important to kind of straddle that line. Because it is important that we all remember this is a professional space, and you're often going to make really close friendships within this space. And so remember when you are at Fringe or when you are in a private setting, because words are nuanced, and what may be appropriate in a private setting may not be appropriate in a public setting. So something to keep in mind at places like office hours, which are, community events where we are in a bar, we are talking about our shows. So keep these things in mind as you navigate the space, and you will have zero issues at Fringe if you do. We ask that if you make a mistake, bravely take responsibility for it. Listen and learn. Again, Ellen said we're not actively wanting to kick people out of the festival. And we can count it on one hand how many times that has had to happen. We want to have conversations and grow and learn in the community. So whenever that is the route taken. But a big part of that is taking responsibility when you have made a mistake, so that we can trust that you've grown and enter back into the Fringe community without further issue. So we do ask that if we come to you, please take that seriously. Take a deep breath. Avoid defensive behavior or reactions that also come with pride, embarrassment, and in general white supremacy culture. I can't say how often it is so much easier to have a conversation when someone is not defensive. So take that breath if it comes to it. And I trust that it will not happen. But if it does, prepare to take a deep breath and have that conversation with us so that we can move forward in growth and have a great journey here at Fringe. As Ellen said, we reserve the right to tell anyone to leave the space at any time. Again, we don't want to, but we do reserve that right. Participating in Fringe is a privilege, not a right at the end of the day. We ask if you witness or experience any harm at the festival to reach out to us. Conduct at Hollywood Fringe. That is not, you can also reach us at support at Hollywood Fringe, but conduct at Hollywood Fringe goes directly to Ellen and myself, and that will go directly to a conduct committee that helps us navigate situations when they do arise.
Oh, yeah. It's not written here, but I think it's really important to mention that we only take action on direct reports. Yeah. So we are not investigators. We are not going through and finding out what is happening. If you have a problem, it is so important that, or somebody in your cast has a problem, it's really important that you as the primary producer are in communication with us at Hollywood Fringe. We can't help you if we don't know what's going on. And we really are really open to talking to people at any time about anything, even if it's just last year, there's some instances where people just needed to talk it through and create a best plan for their own individual situations. We are here for you as producers, especially when you have large casts. We are here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're in year 16. The first several years of the Fringe, our code of conduct was don't be a jerk. We have expanded upon that to ensure that, if you know where the box is, you're going to be able to stay in that box in a much easier way, right? So now we have the box. These are, the list of what is not allowed at Fringe. But I think most of us, if you just remember don't be a jerk, it's going to cover it. Don't be a jerk at Fringe and you're going to be great. We already covered, so we're not in the business of punishment. We actually reject that whenever possible. And so we want to be in conversation. Remember, as the primary producer, Ellen kind of touched on this, but you are responsible for your cast and crew. The person who registers the project pays the fees, right? You might have a cast of 20, but recognize that when you're bringing your cast into these spaces, we're going to come to you if there's an issue with your cast or crew. So please share our code of conduct with your team. We think it's great practice for the first rehearsal to, share the document, have a 20-minute conversation about what you expect as a primary producer. And that way you will have no issues and you don't have to do any sudden recasting or, really icky conversations. Just start out the rehearsal process going over this and you'll be just fine. When it comes to show content, we mentioned it's about harmful speech. We're not actively, no show has technically been taken out of Fringe. We've had a couple of conversations about, some words or some areas that were a little gray, but it doesn't happen. If you're worried about your if you're worried about your content, please email us, support@hollywoodfringe.org. We are so happy to go over, hop on a Zoom and go over any content you're worried about. Because it's not satire, y'all. We're not worried about, making really important points. We're worried about harmful content. I think most everyone in the room is going to so yeah, don't be a jerk at Hollywood Fringe, y'all. That's I think questions. Yeah. So okay, with questions, y'all, what we're gonna do? Oh my God, we're gonna bring around the applesauce. Okay, I'm never gonna live this down with the applesauce thing. But questions about, we're gonna cover a lot more topics. So keep the questions to what we've already talked about.
Conduct and
yeah.
Fringes.
Yeah. And applesauce. If you have a question, raise your hand. I'll bring the mic over to you, and then start with your name and your show title. Start marketing your show now. You have so many potential audience members in this room, so get that conversation going. Okay, questions. Okay, run around like a host. Okay.
Thank you so much. It's really not, thank you. Not a deep question. My name is Ronnie. My show is called Anonymous Rose, and I'm really looking forward to see you all there. My question is about, you said about the Artist Fund will open mid-February. When is the application process starts, or? Yeah, I guess I missed it.
No, yeah, it will open mid-February, and then, so more information on that. If you want to learn about the past years, there's still information at hollywoodfringe.org/artist fund. The reason it's not open yet is we don't know how much money we're going to fundraise. So we're trying to keep fundraising, hollywoodfringe.org/club, to make sure we can get as many funds to distribute from there. Yeah, okay. Would you mind passing the applesauce? Of course. Oh my God, that was
Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Jason Pollock. My show is MPAT's Burt Thunders presents the first annual fundraiser to save the whales. Yes. Oh, thank you. You mentioned that the cabaret is going to be going on the road. I was curious what else is like new and different for people like me who've done Fringe for the last 5-10 years.
Of course.
We're going to talk about some of it later, but
Not much that we can announce, because if you think about it, we are still in conversation with our funders, because we haven't secured our entire funding scheme for this year. And so much of that is kind of built with them. But what I will say is that cabaret is the biggest change that you're going to see. And then some HQ changes as well would be like the other thing that will be changing, possibly, if things go.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to tell with that one.
Yeah. Well, and in general, so for anyone, so HQ, we rent a space. We don't work in an office. We work out of each other's living rooms, mostly Ellen's. But we don't have a space year round, which means we rent a space for the June festival. And it's not like nobody will let you rent temporary space months in advance. It's a fun little trick we have to figure out every year. But yeah.
And I would say that those changes for the festival really get announced at those last two town halls. So especially that last town hall is where we're like, these are all the programs, and you these are all the announcements, and that's before tickets go on sale.
Yeah, but no major shifts. Like, it'll just be little tweaks, like every year.
Hi, I'm Hope. I'm working on the secret seminar with Jordan. Sorry, what is the cabaret?
Cabaret is a chance for artists to do like 5 to 7 minutes of their show as a way of kind of teasing. It's a Netflix teaser, right? A way to tease audiences into their show by providing a little snippet. So in the past, we've done it at Fringe Central, and we've found, because of feedback from artists, for the most part, it was artists seeing each other's work, which is so fun and lovely, but that's not very helpful in getting butts in seats. So we're taking it on the road to now involve ourselves in new communities that might not otherwise be seeing Fringe work, to tease them into coming over to Hollywood Fringe.
And a couple that we'll do again, we had a little 30 minutes at the Pride stage. There was the community stage that we had 30 minutes there. We do like Melrose Trading Post, which is like a farmer's market type situation. And so think about those types of activations are really our goal, is to go into spaces where lots of Angelinos are looking for what's the next thing to do.
And so lots more on that later as we confirm partnerships and book these sessions in different venues.
Shall we keep
Yeah,
going?
let's-
I do have one question from the chat, which is, and then you can just repeat it into the mic and it'll be totally fine. Do you suggest we add trigger and content warnings?
Yes, definitely. And we'll definitely go into that a little bit on this when we talk about the project page, and then lots more at the Access Town Hall, which is Town Hall number 2. But we'll definitely cover that in the next section, I promise. And the question was about trigger warnings that I did not repeat into the microphone.
We have tons of free educational events to help prepare you for a successful Fringe season. You're at one of them. This year we have a mix of in-person and digital events, and all will be live streamed and recorded in case that live stream isn't perfect. We will have ASL interpreters at some events, but you must request them for 72 hours in advance at least, and if not sooner, if that is an access requirement for you, we would love to provide that for you. We also put captioning on our videos to make sure that people are able to access our information in multiple ways, as well as put an audio only version of all workshops and town halls on our podcasts on the Fringe in Hollywood. So if you're driving around and you just want to listen to the dulcet tones of Lois and Ellen speaking, you can do that, and it won't be illegal. Workshops that we have coming up. So we have workshops are where we work with participants from past Hollywood Fringes to tell us their experience. Town halls are where Lois and I drone on. And so workshops that we have include alternative BYOV venues at Fringe. So that's if you want to bring your own venue into the Fringe. I recommend you don't do that unless you are trying to do site-specific work as like your biggest ethos, or you already have a relationship with the space. And if you've done Fringe before, it is way harder because you are your venue manager and you're the producer of your show. It's just a lot of work. That being said, we always have it every year, and it is exciting work. So please come to that if you are interested in doing that. We have a budgeting and fundraising panel that's coming up in just about 2 weeks. And to prepare for that, go look at that budget blog, start to put your budgets together so that we can talk all about that. We have anti-racism for white artists. We have marketing and ticketing. We have how to tech your Fringe show. We have festival expectations. Those are the workshops that all come from the Fringe community. The town halls are where you speak with us directly. And they're also really important because it's where we make major announcements like, hey, there's new programs, or kind of explain some of the new policies that come through, and you're able to live ask questions. So our next one is about how to make your Fringe show accessible. And it's a great thing for you to go to that because you don't have to spend money to make your show accessible. You can have these pivot rings, like you can have these like staircases until you get to a producing level where your show is 100% inclusive, 100% accessible. But you have to try, even in this moment, to start making your productions as accessible as possible. 25% of our population has a disability. It is so important that we are inclusive in our community as much as we can financially. So we'll give you all of those tips from like, I am an A+ student to I'm trying. And all of those levels are really important. So please come to that. We have the next one after that is about our printed guide, ticketing, press. It's about all of that stuff for that May on sale date. All of the things you need to be thinking about before the festival starts. And then after that, we how to have the most of your Fringe, how to make the most of your Fringe experience. That one is going to be about the things you need to worry about in June and late May. So that will include like, where is HQ this year? How are awards working? The industry program. About things that we can't really announce before late April. We also have virtual web sessions because our website is, hard to navigate because, it's the internet and they all are, I don't know. It's hard to know exactly where everything is on our website. And if you struggle with that, you can come to these web sessions and ask us live questions. And there's also a recording of them afterwards where you can kind of just look through how to go exactly through all of the different things that you can do on your ticketing capabilities. You manage your own box office through our platform. So it's a really great way for you to be able to make sure that whoever is running your tickets knows everything about our website.
Basically, everything we talk through at these sessions, we show you in the web sessions.
There's a live stream. It's like a screen share happening, and you're able to like see every single little thing. You actually click here, kind of things that you might not know just by looking at a page. And in addition to all of these events, you could always book a one-to-one with our staff, especially if you're new to Fringe or that if you have like specific burning questions. A one-to-one is 30 minutes where we'll just kind of dive into your process. There's a link to schedule that is being dropped in the chat for those that are online, but also you can look in your email that you received today if you're on our email list, and it's in there as well. Office hours are back. Join Hollywood staff and participants in casual meetups at different bars around Hollywood. Whether you're a veteran Fringe or a new one, these are for you. This is actually the text that is there. So these office hours are at different bars around Hollywood. You can come, you can have a mocktail, you can have a cocktail, you can have a water. It is an open space for you to come meet with Fringe staff and meet each other. There's often food at multiple, we're trying to go to more bars that also have food and different options as well. And then if you want to come to like a 100% free event, come to our community days in Hollywood. So we have two that are a flat walk around the Hollywood Reservoir. It's paved and flat. And we have two that are at Plummer Park, and we will please register for a ticket, because once we, on that day of, that morning of, we'll send you a little email being like, this is the exact meeting spot, come see us. And then we'll all hang out in the park twice. One of them will be a walk, one of them will be a just chilling. All of those details can be found at www.hollywoodfringe.org/events. Your new, you can add them all to your calendar even there. So you should do that.
All right, important festival dates and deadlines. February 1st, what happened today? Registration opened, exactly, perfect. April 15th, that is our next deadline, which is the registration and venue booking deadline for printed guide inclusion. Make sure you hit that deadline, because it would be just silly to put all of this money into a production and then not end up in the printed guide, which is a part of that. So make sure April 15th you have your venue booked and you're fully registered for the festival. On May 1st, tickets go on sale for the festival. June 4th through the 9th are previews. June 10th is our opening night party. No shows will be scheduled on June 10th because we're all going to be celebrating in community. We force it. You are not allowed to do anything on your own. It is community day. And then June 11th through the 28th is the official 2026 Hollywood Fringe Festival. And June 29th are the awards and closing night party. Okay, party. The awards and closing night party, which is a Monday. Again, feedback session from a couple of years ago suggested, why have it on a day where we're still doing shows? Brilliant. Now it's on the Monday following. For awards, I'm going to give you a sneak peek now, but we will talk about it at length at a future town hall. But awards, we have two types of awards at the festival: Community and Discover Fringe Industry Awards. The Community are voted on by people who are seeing shows and your fellow artists. And the Discover Fringe Industry Awards is the program that tries to give you opportunities post-festival. That can be tours to like Adelaide Fringe, Denver Fringe, Sydney Fringe, Italia Off, Soho Playhouse in New York, local bookings, or I mean, there's some cash prizes. There a ton of opportunities, because our whole goal is, again, for this to be a part of your journey to kind of launch you into the next stage. Okay, I think
And we'll go over those later.
Yeah, for sure. And all of this is available, again, at the Artist Hub in the support portal. So all of it is on the website. Yep, exactly what I was going to say. Applesauce.
One brand. We're going to talk about registration. What is it? There's 3 requirements. You go online, you create a project, you book a Fringe venue, and you pay your registration fee. Boom, you're a Fringe show. That's kind of crazy, right? The paid registration and venue booking don't have to happen in any order. You can register first, or you can book your venue first. The one thing that we want you to do is register as soon as possible, so you get on our radar and we know about your show, and we're able to track you as a part of the festival, because we do that. But then the second thing is, we know that some people can't. They're like, I have to wait till like April 15th financially. Just make sure that you sign up for our artist newsletters, which we have a link in our emails already. But you'll see in our upcoming emails, we're going to switch over to only sending to that participant list starting in about mid-February. So if you're not going to register till April, just send it. You could get that link, and if you can't find that link, just send us an email at support@hollywoodfringe.org, and we'll send that link over to you to make sure that you get on our email list. New this year, we're not doing live stream shows. Right? Yeah. I was like, you can still stream on your own and do it. We're just not going to ticket it because we can't email your patrons back, and we're their box office, and it got really confusing. It was not something that we saw a ton of money being made in. It was not something that the like amount of money we were spending on like fixing it was like the amount of money that people were making off of it, and it would be better for us to get butts and seats. That being said, if you want to live stream and ticket it in your own way, do it all yourself, because then you're able to really engage with your audiences and you have more complete control. Okay, great. So step number one, what is creating a project? You're gonna go, it's easy. You go to hollywoodfringe.org/add_project, and you start the journey. It can be updated at any time, so it's okay if you go through a little quickly. But remember that you want to update it before like April 15th for that guide deadline. I do want to mention the category because this is where you might like get stumped. You just choose where your show fits best. Just because you have a one-person act doesn't mean you have to choose solo show. You might fit better in the clown and alternative comedy section. You might be a musical or an opera. There are this is the category that you are considered for awards under. So that community voted award that is associated with your category. It's also where you are organized in the Fringe guide. So you need to pick what is best for you from cabaret and burlesque, clown and alternative comedy, comedic theater, comedy and variety acts, dance and physical theater, dramatic theater, events and workshops, immersive and games, musicals and opera, solo theater. Does that mean that you should not choose solo theater? No. If that's what your show is, you should definitely choose it because somebody's going to come to your show pissed if it's a solo act and they didn't think it was. And that happens every year. And so you really want to just be clear and stick to your guns there. Now also note that short description is what goes in the printed guide. Your long description when you're filling out your project page, that is going to be your website information.
The short description also goes in the iPhone app.
Sweet. Step number 2, you register. You made a little project. Now you have to go through and like pay for it. But there's also some other things that have to go in there. One, you tag your project. This is really important that you don't just like make up a funny tag because the only things that show up are the 30 most used ones across the Fringe. So you want to kind of gamify what tags you're using based on popularity. And we'll go over that in the marketing and ticketing portion. You don't have to really worry about it, but some suggestions that people will do will be like comedy, solo theater, queer, funny, like they will do like just whatever descriptor fits best for you. You're going to answer some basic information about your production. There's some demographics that we ask for. We publish those in like big numbers, so we're not going to talk about your individual show in that way. We're not going to like go through all of your things and be like, this person makes this much money. Like that's not how it is. It's pulled as like big data points for our annual report, which is where you could go see what our stats looked like last year. If you go to hollywoodfringe.org/annual report, good idea to look there because you can see what shows did well. We have our awards listed there from last year. We have like ticketing stats and information, which is good for your budgeting. I would recommend going there. After that, you'll apply through venues in the site. That doesn't mean that they know that because some people really utilize that function and some of our venues have different ways of booking. And if you went for it's really important that you kind of like hit it in multiple angles. So it's just one part of it. You can call, some people prefer calls, some people prefer email. And that was discussed in the venue panel.
Yeah, I'll just note because it was just there. It more like lately they really are utilizing that. So the site is great. I think the key is to remember, think it's not so much apply as it is show of interest. Just because you apply does not mean that you're like, okay, booked, done. Hard no. It is showing interest. So don't be afraid to show interest to multiple venues that have piqued your interest.
Take tours, chat with them through the sites. Also, don't ghost them. If you book somewhere, just let everyone else that you're talking to know. It's really like not super nice. We figure it out eventually, but it can save everybody some problems if you're just like, okay, I've narrowed it down to my 3 that I'm talking to, and then you just reject people. Just like dating, it's better.
We want all the venues to do well, so we'll be like, oh my gosh, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
why
while we were
it
saying,
hates us.
it is a great chance. Like, remember, you're going to be an artist after Fringe, and likely in LA. So get to know a bunch of venues, knowing that you'll have other projects.
Yeah.
I'm vamping.
It's picking it up on the recording mic. Once you book your venue, they enter your performances on the site. You can't do it. And also, don't worry about it. We worry about it. We are so on them around booking time, and sometimes people, emailing them like 30 million times when they've maybe told you like, "Hey, I do it on this day," might make it have less time to work on other things. So really be intentional when you are talking with your venue. Say, "Hey, when do you schedule performances?" If that's something that's going to kind of drive you nuts, and start to put that in your brain. And we will make sure that they are entered and that you're in the guide if you're registered.
Yeah, another reason to register. So basically, our audit on our end is if you are registered, I can tell that you don't have a venue. If you have a venue and you're not registered, I see that too. So you'll be hearing from me at the last couple of weeks before the deadline if one of those two things is not done.
When you're registering, you also sign your participant contract. Read it. Read it. Read all of your contracts. Have your friend read your contract. Have somebody who's better at contracts read it for you. Read it. And finally, you'll register for Fringe. This is where you pay us money, which is $425 for paid multi-performance. That did go up this year. This is the first increase since 2019, and we are not planning on increasing it for the next 3 to 5 years, unless something changes. But we would never raise it after the 3. We're hoping for 5, if that makes sense. 3 is like the minimum. Free show is $225, and a workshop is free if you already have a registration, and $50 if you don't have a registration for a multi-paid performance or a free show.
What is a workshop?
Well, I was just about to talk to you about it. It's right there underneath. It says workshop program. Free for HFF participants, $50 for others. Educational in nature, smaller guide listings. So this is like when we have our guide, we have a section that has our events that are happening during the festival. Other people might be like, I want to teach a yoga class, or I want to do I study this specific type of theater and I want to do that, a lecture on it, or I want to have an event of some sort. It's really been pretty wide open there, and it works for some people because that is like what they are. They are teachers. They like to share in that way. This promotes the knowledge share across our community as well. So once you register your show, you pay your registration fee. Boom, you're registered. It says you'll be assigned up automatically to the participant newsletter, have access to the participant packet, and get discounts on ads. Our ads are on our website as well as in the printed guide. And people are like, why do you have paid ads for the printed guide? Because that's how we pay for the printed guide, because it's so expensive to print. You are also printers, so I also understand. You guys know, you guys print postcards. You can register in one sitting. It's pretty fast. Remember that you need to book your venue and that you need to do all of this before April 15th. And go to the web session if this is confusing.
Screen. Yes, March 10th is the web session where we will walk you through all of this. So let's talk about what's included in that registration. A listing in the printed guide. So not the guide ads. We'll talk more about that when we get to marketing, but a listing in the printed guide that includes your short description, the title, where your show is and when. A listing on the website, of course. Your project page becomes your ticketing hub and sees well over 1 million hits during June alone. So a busy little website. Listing in our mobile app, still iPhone only, so sorry y'all, but the iPhone app will be live and available to audiences to book directly through that. Ticket sales via the website, of course, phone, walk-up, and mobile. And so part of what you get is our ticketing service. We are actively corresponding with your audiences, handling refunds, handling moved shows. Just so you know, we don't do refunds after 24 hours, but we do allow for switches and refunds before that 24-hour mark. But we handle all of that for you. That way you are not trying to rush into your show while getting back to an audience member who can't find the venue or things like that. We're handling all of the correspondence. Tons of articles, not only about like how to Fringe, but making every opportunity available. As well as discounts. That's a big one. The article is up and we'll continue to add more and
I'm trying to figure out how to get it back.
that's We'll just keep going. Sorry, live stream. We have a video backup. Don't worry. But discounts. So on printing, on outside marketing, on graphic designers, on anything, videography, photography, anything that one should be thinking about as a producer, we have discounts available in that article. So check out the Artist Hub for that. Of course, discounted ads on the Fringe website and the printed guide. Ellen started to talk about this, but it's 50% off as a registered participant. So please don't buy your guide ad or your website ad unless you've registered, because then you will not get the discount, and that would be silly. Wait until you've registered to do that, and then those discounts show up automatically. Basically, once you're signed into your user account that has attached to that show, you'll see those prices automatically at the reduced rate. You can also find specs and templates for Canva, Photoshop, and Illustrator at hollywoodfringe.org/ads. We tried to make it super easy. You don't have to be a graphic designer to create a guide ad. We want everything to be really accessible to you. So that is all there for your use. Participant support via the special participant newsletter, which we've talked about, and of course our one-to-one services to help you along your journey. Qualifications for awards is a big part of that. You were automatically qualified to receive awards. Again, our community awards is an automatic voted by audience participants. And then our Discover Fringe industry program, you self-apply, but you are all to do so. We do that way. For you. And so all of our awards are kind of opt-in to consideration, but you do have access to opt in to any that you qualify for based on what the award presenter is looking for. Reviews on the site. This is a big one. Y'all, the Fringe audience is so keen to leave reviews, which is a huge part of your producer's toolkit. You need to know how to market your show, and sometimes that's different than how you started the process, right? You're going to find out what your audience is saying. Like, oh shit, I didn't even think to market my show in that fashion, what have you. So you're going to get audience reviews. You're also going to get reviews off the site. Sometimes press outlets won't necessarily be involved in the Fringe site, but they will review your work. So with that comes access to our press and industry program. We're going to talk a ton about that. We have an entire town hall that is kind of dedicated to that portion. But we're doing everything we can to put your show in front of because we want you to put out panels, town halls, all of these things that we're doing here to make sure you have every tool available to you. All of the Fringe marketing, the pole signs, the billboards, digital, print. The idea with the marketing is we are advertising the Hollywood Fringe Festival, and it's your job as an individual show to make sure your show is standing out within that advertising. We get people to look at Hollywood Fringe, you get people to look at your show. Yeah. And then free Fringe marketing opportunities like Fringe Cabaret, and we'll do social campaigns. We'll have tons of things to give you extra eyeballs on your show, so keep an eye out for more information as we near May. And then, of course, access to the staff email. Y'all, please use this. We see, I can't remember the number off my head. We posted it in the annual report, but thousands of emails every year. So please be some of those. Support at hollywoodfringe.org. And then, of course, fun, networking, opportunity. Fringe is more than a festival. It is a Yes, y'all. You're gonna find your artistic, your personal network in this room. So look around. The people in this room are going to be friends by the end of this. They're going to be potential collaborators in the future, and that's the beauty of Fringe. Okay, let's talk book your venue. That is an important part. How many people have started to look at venues just on the site? Okay, that's great. Yes, I love to see it. Fantastic. Because it's important. You want to make sure to have a venue. Otherwise, you're not going to do the Hollywood Fringe, and that would suck. The first rule, it must be in the Fringe zone. That is going to be Franklin, Vermont, Rosewood, and Fairfax are kind of our boundaries. We do that because we're a festival. We can't have people, driving 2 hours between venues. Otherwise, they're not seeing multiple shows. You get it. So we do have the Fringe zone. You can apply to venues through the Hollywood site, hollywoodfringe.org/venues. That is going to be your best tool to apply directly, look at specs, look at pictures, get to know these venues. Like we said, tour multiple, spend time deciding what is right for your show and your budget. Every venue is going to be different and offer something different. Don't assume, we've already talked about it, but don't assume that applying that you're good to go. Make sure that you are keeping up on that. Basically, it'll work as once you talk to a venue, they contract you separately, right? It's kind of a system thing. You have a relationship with Hollywood Fringe. We have an artist agreement with your show. You will have a contract with your venue. And then we work with the venues to make sure all three come together as one. So once you talk to a venue that you're like, yep, I'm booking this venue, you sign a contract, you pay them money, and then they make it official on the Fringe website by proposing a deal to your show where you can look over everything and go, yep, these are the dates and the performances, all the things match what we talked about. Once you hit approve, then it's live on the site and ready for ticket on sale. So that is how that works. Check out the venue panel. It is live on our YouTube page at Hollywood Fringe, and most of the audio works, I promise. But make sure to check that out to get to know. I think there's 14 venues that are on that panel. So really great way to look at things. Jen, I think you're the only other venues in the room that I didn't see. But would you want to introduce yourself really quick and talk about your many venues?
Yeah.
Bring you the applesauce.
I get the applesauce. Which side? Either side. I'm loud. We're good. Okay. Hi, I'm Jen Crafts of the Stage Crafts, because our last name is Crafts. But my husband Greg and I run numerous venues. This one, the Modnani that you're sitting in, this is one of them. Hooray. The other one is the Hobgoblin Playhouse. I've got some of my hobgoblins right here already. We have a brand new venue joining us this year called Bad Ladder. They are a super cool, eclectic space. They have two spaces. One is a 60-seat black box. It's very cool. And then the other one is a really interesting, like, green screen psych studio, which would be really great for a very intimate solo show, because it's going to see about 30. So very cool. And then if you have a big show, we have LA Pack, the Promenade Playhouse at LA Pack, which actually I'm going to afterward. I have someone here who wants to tour. If anyone would like to join me to come see it, come take a field trip with me. It's right up the street on Highland. But that is a big playing space. It has 88 seats, and it has 3 different playing spaces. It's a reverse thrust, so the audience sits in the middle, and then the playing spaces are around them. So it's very cool. So if anyone wants to see it today, stick around and talk to me, and we will take a field trip.
But yeah, so many venues. We're so lucky to, work with some amazing venues. So again, take the opportunity to get to know a bunch of venues. This is expanding your network as an artist. It will not suck to know 5 venues really well and be able to hit them up when you have a show at any moment. Not the worst thing ever. Okay, project page, and then we're going to get to questions. So your project page, we've talked about getting it started. Let's talk about how to utilize it, because again, this is your ticketing page. This is where people are going to decide whether to buy a ticket or not to buy a ticket. So make sure you are utilizing every aspect. It is the hub for marketing and selling your tickets. Post pictures, videos, and trailers. Post anything you have to get audiences into your theater. We live in a world of streaming where people need to see 7 commercials before they actually commit to watching a 2-hour show, right? So utilize that. We can talk about trigger warnings. I know that came up in the chat. So the long description is where you're going to want to put any trigger warnings. Trigger warnings are important because you don't want your audience to lose faith or trust in you. It is really important to make sure to consider your audience's health and safety when it comes to content. And we'll talk a lot more about that in Town Hall number 2. But if you have questions about certain material, we're always happy to chat that through. support@hollywoodfringe.org. But it's important to take care of your audience because that's how they return to see future work of yours. You want to jump in?
Oh, I just wanted to say what some common trigger warnings are, just in case you're like, what does that mean? Common trigger warnings would be gun violence. It is very important if you use prop guns or things like that you notate that in your project page and that you never point them at the audience. The amount of Fringe shows I've seen with, if you're going to use a prop gun, you've got to have somebody on your team that knows about stage combat.
Or you will talk to us in a way that you don't want to.
If you are talking about suicide or suicidal ideation, that's often one that you'll want to talk about. Anything, also violence just in general, anything that of a violent nature is something that you will want to make sure your audience is prepared to go into. I can't tell you the amount of Fringe shows I've gone into being like, this is going to be so great. And then afterwards, I'm like, I'm dead, and I have a meeting that I planned right afterwards because I didn't think about that because it wasn't on the project page. And so it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths when you're not completely honest with your audience. And I promise you're not giving anything away, by just saying that there's a topic that is being brought up in your show. It doesn't ruin your artistic intent. Nobody is going in there knowing your full story, but it does mean that the people that want to engage with that type of content have the ability to. I forgot another one. Like if racism, sexism, ableism, sometimes those are important things to put in, especially if when it's sensitive or and so much of that comes from personal nature. So especially in those personal storytelling shows, let's think about what things your audiences might want to know before coming in, especially what you might want to know. It can help you know that.
Yeah, you're right, because it is not going to scare people away. It might maybe one or two people, but I promise you they will like spread the word that they were harmed in your show if they come and are not prepared for that. And in fact, we've had a few times, press has reached out to us incredibly angry, or industry. So no, too, it can really ruin potential opportunities post festival, because that is not a sign of a producer ready to go to the next level if they're not able to protect their audience, right? So really important thing to think about as you look at your show and how you're going to market it. Remember, nothing is locked until April 15th. So please spend time on that project page. Get to know it. Send it to a friend. Look at, once you meet people at office hours in this room, send them to each other, because it's easier when you don't know the show so intimately to go like, oh, I don't really actually understand what's happening here. Like it's really pretty pictures, but what is the point of the show? And so use each other to get that insight. Also, it's where the reviews will be posted. So you'll get reviews from your audience. We send an automatic email after the end of every show, or technically it's like 5 minutes into the show, but reminding an audience that booked a ticket through the Fringe website to leave a review on your page. So we do that for you. And those will all show up on your page as well. And they live there forever. We kind of hoard information in that, like, you'll have that internet stamp forever. If you want, you can delete it if you want to, but why? Because then people are able to look. If you've submitted to a curated program, you can, hey, here's my project page, and the full list of reviews is there. You cannot delete reviews, and we'll talk more and more about that as we get closer to May. There is a code of conduct, right? So if they are harmful, if they are personal or attacking in nature, we will delete them if you reach out to us, and if it does break our code of conduct. But we won't delete a review just because it wasn't very nice. Like if they just talk about the content or the show not being very good, that is unfortunately it's all or nothing. You can turn reviews off if you're doing a workshop. If you're not quite ready for outside feedback, that is absolutely okay. You can turn off reviews. You just can't decide which ones are going to be on that page. But again, if it breaks our code of conduct, we will absolutely remove that review. No questions asked.
Questions asked.
What?
Questions
Well, questions asked. Sorry, but like there.
Actually, lots of questions.
That's right there. But yeah, that's fair. So you collect reviews there. That your guide proof is also going to be there. You're going to hear a lot more about that in April. But even now, you have a little tab that says guide proof, so you can see exactly what is going to be printed. So that as you're filling out your short description, as you're doing all of this, you'll see, okay, this is my print right here. So that's there. When tickets go on sale on May 1st, you have full control over your page. We really believe it is important to give you the autonomy over your producing journey. So you have access to everything on that page, to change the price of your tickets, to change the discount codes, to add discount codes. Anything on that page when it comes to ticketing. The only thing you cannot do is refund. You can reach out to us and we will refund people, no problem. You can't refund, and you can't change the runtime of your show. You can email your venue to change the runtime of your show. But given there's potentially 50 other productions happening in that space, it would be a mess if everyone had access to change runtimes that would, mess up other shows. So those are the two things you cannot do. But everything else, we want you to have that autonomy. You see in the moment as tickets are being purchased in May, who's purchasing tickets. You get access to a patrons list because that audience is your audience. So we have an opt-in where they opt in to share their information with the producer. Some 95% of audience members will share their emails. And then you walk away from the festival with an email list ready to bring to your next production. Okay, so get to know that page. It's a beautiful page, and we want you to take full advantage of it. I don't know. Okay, questions about all of the
Say that we're doing budgeting next and marketing.
Yes, budgeting and marketing is next. So if it's a budgeting or marketing question, hang on to that. Good call. Okay, 1 second. My pants are sticking to my bottom. That's fun. All right, here we go.
Thank you for the applesauce. My question is, so I am bilingual. And so is there space for doing a show in Spanish and then a show in English? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, one down. I heard that. Oh, yeah.
Yes. people have done that. And we have some check boxes that you're able to do at, I think it's at the performance level, to do performed in Spanish for the performances that are performed in Spanish, and that will show up when people are booking a ticket. That way you have it there. And if you, that's like a part of the accessibility workshop too, will show how where those live, what they are, and things like that. But please do that. It sounds great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And use the long description. I think anything like that, because like the more information you want, again, this communication, right? You want people to know they have access to that. So use that long description for anything, because there's no limit. Try us, like how much you can put there, but it'll be important to be like, note, these different performances. One project. Yeah.
And so I will show in English. Can I also do the thing in Spanish so that people that maybe don't speak English can access?
So if you did 2 projects, it would be 2 registration fees, which is why we don't recommend it. And you'd basically be promoting 2 different links. Whereas on the long description, what you can do is provide an English translation and a Spanish translation in that long description. And then it really comes down to marketing, like your own personal marketing, and getting them to the page from there, just having both available. Yeah. More questions? Yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Hasmik. I am the director of the Trig. This is Linnea. She is producing our production, and this is Alexandra. She is doing the Trig. I'm doing the Pearl by Joe Primal. Our question is like more of a technical thing. We created the project, and I am wondering if it's like different from the registration, because we were looking at the steps and we were wondering, because we wanted to apply to venues. We applied to venues, but we want whatever the audience sees as like marketing and like clicking the links is like much different than what we put in like create the project. So is it different? Are we going to be able to edit it if it's not different? How does that work?
I think what you're asking is like what is visible to the public versus what you see on your admin page. That's a great question and very confusing. I get that. The best way to look at that is like go incognito and just look at the Fringe website and use that link because your project, because I know I'm a visual person, right? And just like seeing exactly what they see. But basically anything on your page as a admin or as the primary producer that is editable, will not be visible to them. They won't see ad media. They won't see like complete registration. They won't see any of those admin tools unless they are logged in as you. But I think, go incognito and view your project in that fashion. That way you can really visualize what's public.
And it is editable after you submit the project. So when you submit the project and you go through, and if what you see is public, you don't want public, you can edit it right away. Yeah, I can move the applesauce.
Hi, I'm Jordan. Our project is called The Secret Seminar. And I created the project page, and I had a venue reach out saying, I noticed your show on like the project catalog, but I didn't see a view where I could see projects. I'm curious about other people's shows. So how do I view other people's projects on the website right now?
We have a project feed, but I don't know the link. You probably know it.
It was going to test me. It's going to test me. Project feed, hollywoodfringe.org/project feed.
Or like feed or something?
Feed, yeah, would Google Hollywood Fringe project feed and something will come up because that's a great question and something, not a lot of people look at.
Yeah.
And then soon, once people are registered, a lot more is going to be public anyway. Yes.
Hi, I'm Logan. Tyler and I here are putting together Dead John, an 80s rock musical. For trigger warnings, we just have a random question with it. Considering he's a character in our show, should we trigger warning the devil?
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like there's going to be so much gray area when it comes to trigger warnings. I think it comes down to more of what this character is doing, in my opinion, or like, unless it is a heavily religious conversation around the devil, because there's like, clown devil versus like, Holy Bible, whatever. So I would just like check in with like what your gut says.
I think that sometimes with religious content, it's so up to your ethos and what you want your audiences to know beforehand. And so I think I wouldn't call it something that's necessary for a trigger warning unless you wouldn't know that it's dealing with religious topics going in. And then you could say religious themes, and somebody might know that, because I think it can be triggering for some.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm directing Your Unemployed Friend on a Tuesday. And I had like a similar question with the bilingual shows because I do want to do one show in Spanish. So if I was gonna go ahead and like buy Fringe ads, should I do like two different ads or should I like finesse it so it's like I'm wondering like what the best way to go would be.
So you can totally buy two ads, like buy two small amounts and run two simultaneously, one that's in Spanish and one that's in English. The Spanish ones will stick out because we don't have that much, but that's also really helpful for people who are looking for that. But I think the most important thing is that you're going to tag your show as performed in Spanish for that performance so that it goes into our marketing for Spanish language shows because there's very few, usually about 10 to 20 performances, and so it's a great way to be able to for us to be able to know that it's happening so that we can actually put it into the funnel of the communities that we're reaching out to. And then as well for you, I mean everything on your project page is going to show up in English for them until it gets translated, but then it will have that marking for performed in Spanish for that performance as well.
And I think this is off topic to the question, but I think another point to why you should spend so much time on that project page. Yeah, we're looking at your projects because we want to uplift your work. So we're talking to press, we're talking to industry. So when they're like, hey, I'm looking for a specific show, the more we know about your show, the more we are able to go, hot damn, I know exactly the show. You're looking for a bilingual show, I got you. And so the more we know, the more we can help connect you with people that are going to help you. I saw one over here. Yeah. Would you mind passing the applesauce? I'm so sorry.
Passing the applesauce, I swear to God. Hi, I'm Raina. My show is called The Uterus Party. And so my question is on ASL interpretation. So that's really important for me. I want at least one show to have ASL. Is that like something where it would be like similar to the bilingual where we indicate, you know, we have this show will be translated into ASL? And does it have to be all the shows? Can it just be like a limited engagement?
Everyone, that's a great question. Exactly the same. So we'll talk a lot about flags, but you can flag an individual performance. That way the audience can search for it, which is the whole point, right? Making sure audiences know what they can see. Also check out if you're looking to do ASL interpretation, we love it. Even if it's one performance, the reason we do it by performance is that so you can kind of take those baby steps toward access because it's expensive and we recognize that. But go to the discounts article, and we have some resources for ASL interpretation because there's only like getting someone who does theater is going to be a huge benefit to your show. Oh, yeah. You can bring anyone into your production. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's your production. Totally. I'm just saying we have resources for someone who's like, I don't know who would interpret my show. Yeah.
Agreed. I think it's really important to come to the accessibility workshop where we'll go really deep into it as well because performances have such a lengthy prep process for ASL interpretation that doesn't get considered sometimes because they are translating your art. And doing that live is very, very difficult in a different way than an event setting where they're just kind of running through some language. And so we'll go over like some of those best practices within that as well.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Yes.
I'm Linnea Pramel. I'm the primary producer of The Trick that Alex will direct, and Hasmik will direct the Pearl. Can I add them so that they are contacted as well? Because right now I'm getting the only emails from you.
Yeah. That's a great question. So we do need just one primary contact for a project. That is only for a handful of things. So who gets paid? That's important. We can't split up payments within a production. So who gets paid? Who receives the industry and press requests? So industry and press that sign up through our program will have access to contact individual shows. We can't have it going to 9 emails because can you imagine the mess? So it will be the primary person. And then for Fringe contact, if something were to happen, we need a point of contact to make that conversation a little easier. But there are ways around it. So you can add admins. Anyone on your team, you can add as an admin, which gives them access to 99% of the function outside of those three things we just talked about. They will be able to change ticket sale or ticket prices. They'll be able to add discount codes. They can see your will call. They can see your patron list. All of that will be available. So that is a fix. Also, if you're looking for a hack, if you're like, I have a co-producer that really needs to receive these emails, you can add like a email that both of you have access to. That is a fix. Just be very cognizant of like how you're organizing that internally, because that can get messy very quickly. But I think admin is usually the best bet, and everyone gets a participant email. If you add them to your team, they will get the participant email. So they will also get to know about office hours coming up or about deadlines. Everyone who's added to a team gets the participant email. Yeah, great question. One more, and then we'll jump over to the next. Sorry about the reach over.
Hi, my piece is comedy, The Fall of the Roman Republic. What is for the bring the own venue in? Can we just have a theater that is outside of Hollywood, or is that too much?
Yeah. It has to be in the Fringe zone. That is absolutely like there's no, especially at this point, we can't extend the boundaries. It has to be in that Fringe zone, which is available on the venues article. But I said, come to the Thursday workshop. If you're interested in exploring that, we're going to go into so much detail, y'all. You're going to be annoyed at hearing about BYOBs because we're just going to dive into it fully.
Oh yeah, our boundaries, just so people know, is a little bit into West Hollywood over to Fairfax, a little bit into East Hollywood over to Vermont or Virgil. Vermont. And then south down to Melrose there's like one block, and then up about to Franklin. So that would be like within there. You can bring in venues, but outside of that is a no. Yeah. Let's chat money. Let's chat about dollars. That's great. Thanks for letting me know. It is in all of our interests that this is a financially successful experience for everyone. So let's talk about costs, a little bit how you go through that budgeting process. And then we have an entire workshop where our artists will go over their experiences. Additionally, I think it's really important that you look at our sample budgets, which are in the artist hub. Go in that artist portal. Robbie this year grabbed 15 to 20 different sample sizes from like a really small production. We have it broken out from like solo shows into ensemble shows, and then musicals are even different as well because of that different cost breakdown. And then within there, we have like your little like, I'm just putting up my show as cheap as possible to your, I'm trying to get this off Broadway and this is an investment. And those budgets are vastly different from each other. Like one was like up to like in the double 20, like a lot of money, like 20,000 was one of them, right? Yeah. One was like 20,000. I was like, wow, I'd never heard of that at Fringe before, at Hollywood Fringe before. Edinburgh, yeah. But some started at like $1,500. So you're really looking at that large scope of like, I've spent $1,500, so I spent that. Your average that we were seeing the most is about $2,500 was kind of like what we were seeing a lot in there. Now you need to look at those and see, because there's all of these different little details about what they were spending on. Some people spend in their venue the most. Some people spend, they might get the cheapest venue possible and do a couple of shows, but they might have a bigger production cost. Some people live stream. Some people didn't live stream. Some people paid people. Some people didn't pay people. Some people put it into their budget because they couldn't pay people to take care of people, which is always a smart thing to do, like putting some meals together for people. Also paying for gas stipends or parking stipends when people have to park. For instance, maybe your cheapest venue doesn't have free parking, so maybe you're going to include parking costs in there. So you have so many variables, but here are some typical things to watch out for. Your registration fee. Remember, it's $425 for multi-paid performances, so anybody who's charging costs for tickets. $225 if you are doing free shows. That's free on the website. You're doing a free show for the community. $50 for that workshop, but that's very uncommon unless you're already doing a show. And then you're going to put, your biggest cost is going to be your venue rental. And that, again, wildly fluctuates depending on what type of space you're looking for, what neighborhood you're looking for. There's no such thing as a bad Fringe venue, and there's no such thing as a bad Fringe area. We have so many pockets of Fringe venues, and we really try to make sure that there is activity among there, that there's restaurants that we recommend around each of those venues, that there's little Fringe pockets we can make possible. Then you're going to have your production fees. These are going to be your production costs. You might have costuming in here. You might have things like, I want a lighting designer. That might be something that you don't do if you don't have a ton of money. Maybe you are okay with something that's like no cues or just a lights up, lights down. It's fine. You know how many great Fringe shows I've gone to that had like no designers, but really they had the story there. And then I've seen them, 2 years later and that production has really grown. That's also fine. You might be ready to be at that growth stage though, where you want a lighting designer or you want a costume designer or you want to have bolder costumes. That would be a production cost. You have your marketing fees. You're going to think a lot about this. Marketing fees doesn't always just mean like paid advertisement. This is also like, I'm going to go to a lot of events and I'm going to eat food at those events and I am going to drink at those events. I am going to meet people. I am going to go to see a lot of shows. Somebody said I needed to budget for the shows that I wanted to go see. Although there's this thing that a lot of people do called comp swapping or maybe discounting. And so also you want to put that in your budget. So how do you budget your tickets? So your budget, these are all the costs that I'm talking about. How do you budget your income? So the things that you're going to want to budget around are fundraising. It's really important that you fundraise. You think that people don't want to help you produce your show? They do. They want to see more live theater. And I would say right now, people are way more likely to give to a individual production than I've ever seen before. The mutual aid is real. It is so important that you put together a good pitch, though, and that people have specific things that they're looking at and they understand what they're funding. And it's not just like I want to produce a show, but maybe that works for you. I don't know. Maybe your friends like that. So we'll talk all about those tips and tricks at that budgeting fundraising workshop. We'll talk with some people who really do this often with their shows. Not me, who's just, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so you're going to have this fundraising portion. People were kind of seeing between like $750 to like $5,000. Again, it depends on who you know. So you're going to sit down, you're going to write down a list of all of the people that you know will give you $25, $250, whatever number you think you can get them to do. And then you're going to think of that budget as being like 30%. That 30% of those people will actually give to you. And that's what you're going to put in your budget. And then you hope that it gets bigger than that. Then you are going to work with your little team to put it out into the Ethernet or the internet, not the Ethernet, the ethers and the internet. And people are going to be like, I want to support you, I hope. But you have to work really hard to do that. And you also have to think about like the time cost analysis. Sometimes it's good to put like a small amount into fundraising and focus your time into, your full-time job. That actually like is guaranteed to give you money. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like it's good for you to like take some like analysis of like how much work am I putting into this fundraiser and is it more work than just like paying for things out of pocket? Because I do see people who are new to fundraising really burn themselves out from something that takes time to learn as a skill set. But it's an important skill set to have if you're an artist. So it's never too late to start it. But I would say you don't want to be like, and I'm going to get $5,000. I've never run a fundraiser before. All my friends love me. They might, but you have to run like a really, really good campaign then. Then you're going to have your ticket income after the festival. So this is not money that you're going to have access to until after the festival. But this is how you're going to be able to tell if you broke even. And if you want to know about like what people paid last year for tickets or like what numbers are, go to that annual report that I talked about. You'll be able to like really kind of get some ideas from that. So there's 3 different types of prices that you're going to want to budget around. And don't worry, in the budgeting thing, we have like a budget template. You're like, Ellen, you're talking so fast. We are going to talk about this for the next couple of weeks, and we have templates that have this exact information so that you can kind of go through it. But you have 3 different types. You have your regular like advertised price. This is going to be for a tourist who like picks up a Fringe guide and books a ticket. These are going to be your like, these are going to be like 30%. You know what I mean? Like you're going to want to kind of be like, okay, all 3 types of these. Your participant and your price is going to be for your fellow artists, and you're probably going to want to heavily discount it, if not make it free. Some people are like, I'm going to discount it here, and then I'm going to do like a comp swap sort of thing where like I give them a code if I want to give it to them for free, but any artist can get in for $5. And some people don't discount for artists, and you just have to be really clear with your community. Like, I'm so sorry, I only have 3 shows and I only have 49 tickets, and it's a ensemble show and we're going to sell out, you know?
And that's okay.
Yes. you're going to have your community price as well, which is just $1 off tickets, right? Yeah, great, thanks. I haven't said this in a year. Sorry. Your community price is just $1 off tickets. That's anybody who has a Fringe button, which is a lot of Fringe people. So they usually get $1 off. So if you set your ticket price at 15, know that some will be bought at 14. So you're going to want to like budget that like 50% of your tickets sold are going to be at that artist price. 50% are going to be a mix of the other two. And then you're also going to want to think about discount codes within both of those things. So really, you're a regular and participant, when I say 50%, you're also probably going to discount some of those. So don't say like, I'm setting my base price at $15 here, and then I'm going to offer a discount to these communities at 12. And I'm going to offer a discount to this amount of communities to this community at 8. And then I'm going to offer a $5 artist thing. And then you're just going to kind of like start to think about like what that like number is for each of those groups. Like say you have like a writer's retreat with like a lot of nice Malibu women who like have the money to come and support your show. And you can be like, you know what? I'm going to give them a discount code because it gets people to buy things. But I'm going to put them at that $12 price or whatever. Then you're going to write them into like your little, okay, I think that I can sell it at this. So you're basically going to like write down the types of people you think are going to do this. You're basically pre-marketing for yourself and deciding where all these dollars are going to go. So your capacity plus your ticket price times your sell-through rate is like your nightly gross. You are going to comp people in every night. It's just going to happen. You are going to comp in industry. You're going to comp in friends that you want to see the show. It's just going to happen. So what we say is that your sell-through rate should be budgeted at a couple of different rates. We can do a 30%, a 40%, and a 50% sell-through rate. Anything past that, you just want it to be bonus. So you're going to take all of these little calculations, and then you're going to remember at the end of the day, your sell-through rate is really going to be at like about 50% of all of these calculations, because everything else should be bonus. And this is going to be your real budget that you're going to actually be able to make it, because you're not in your head making up numbers that don't really exist and people that don't really exist. So this will be your like nightly gross. And then you'll have your number of performances, and you'll be like, okay, with this many performances, I will make this much. But you have to have people to fill all those performances. So you can't just go in. And this is why I said you're gonna have two lists. You're gonna have like your nightly grosses that you're gonna make. You're gonna like have the like, okay, if I sell 30% of the house, if I sell 50% of the house, if I sell 40%, you're gonna have this over here. And on this list, you're gonna have a running list of, I can get 8 people from this place. I can get 6 people from this place. I can get 1 person from this place. My mom is gonna come. Like you can, I'm gonna comp in this person. You're gonna have this. Your mom. I'll make her pay. No, I'm just kidding. I would comp in my mom. I have. But it's true. You're going to want to just like start to make these lists of where these people are actually coming from before you decide how many performances you want and how many seats you're going to sell. And then that'll help you kind of decide like what size venue you need, what spaces are going to like, how many performances within that venue it's going to be, based on like kind of knowing what you can sell. So for your budgeting purposes, I just like gave you a lot of information, and I'm telling you at the budgeting and fundraising workshop, you're gonna want to come, because there's like usually a projector where we like do this with like numbers, and you're like, I get it now. So the things that I just want you to remember is that you're gonna have 3 different types of tickets prices and more that are variable. You're gonna have like your capacity that you're gonna want to go at 30%, 40%, and 50%. And you're going to want to set like, what is the, you're going to want to then go and have your nightly grosses. And that's going to basically, for your 3 performances, let's pretend you're a 3 performance. You have like your 30%, 3 performances at this much, 40% at this much, 50% at this much. So you might just want to use your average of all of these kind of ticket prices to create that thing to make your nightly gross. So say I'm a $15 ticket price person that's going to be listed. When I'm making my nightly gross and I have the start of my ticket sales at $5, I'm probably going to put my average at about like $9, $8, you know what I mean? So that I can like be really accurate about what my nightly gross is going to be, considering all of these different variables. Now, I'm going to say this. It's really important that our community sets the price together. In the past, our average has been $10 to $15. We think that we're actually at a point where people can raise their listed price in the printed guide a little higher. What we are recommending for solo shows, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lois, is between $12 and $18. So you're going to want to, if you are on fire, that listed price can be at $18. If you are unknown, don't do that. It's going to be hard for you unless you have that Malibu Women's Club that's going to buy it at 18 and set it at 18. For your ensemble shows, we were talking about 15 to 25, depending on what your ensemble costs look like. What does that look like? Is it a two-hander? Is it something that's really simple all the way to something that costs a lot of money? You're going to want to kind of see what can you kind of set there. And then, yeah, that was what we decided, right? I can't remember what the other one was. So just know that that's going to be a little bit higher than the average was last year, but we are recommending that people set prices a little higher because if everybody does across the board, it doesn't really affect people. Last year when we surveyed our audiences, we're happy to pay more from that general audience pool. Now you also want to remember, there's a lot of people who see like 10 Fringe shows.
Your general audience pool.
Yeah, they are not going to buy it at $18. They'll probably buy it at 10 because they're trying to see 10 shows, which means, and a lot of our audience is low income. A lot of our audience comes to Fringe because they have access, not because they're giant patrons of the arts, to be honest. Like, we do have a few of those, and you should charge them full price. But just think about these things when you're budgeting. I'm going to stop talking about budgeting and come to that workshop so that you can see it all laid out for real and that we can create that budget before you go into spending more money.
100%. And if you want to get a jump start, hollywoodfringe.org/budget. Wait, singular budget. Yes, budget. Because Roddy has collected tons of examples from last year. So you can kind of see, what does a solo show look like? What does an ensemble show look like? What does a large venue look like? Small venue, etc. Just to start to get an idea of what that should look like. Okay, let's talk marketing. How are you going to get people into the seat so that you can budget for a higher success rate? Remember, we give you the tools, but it is your responsibility to fill your seats. We're here to help. We're here to market the festival as a whole, but you got to get butts in seats. So start marketing ideas early. Start to figure out what your marketing plan is. That way you don't spend all this time on your amazing show only to get to May 20th and go, oh fuck, I forgot to invite anyone. And it happens every year. So don't do that. It is so important that you have a great show, but it is just as important that people get to see the great show. So flyers are big. They're not like a necessity, but they are a big thing, especially within the Fringe community. So make sure if you do want to print flyers, check out our artist hub. There's discounts on printers. Also use our logo. We have all of our logos available at hollywoodfringe.org/branding. It does help to show that you're a part of something bigger than just the one show. Ad buys, remember we have the online and the print. They're 50% off for all Fringe participants. Register first. And our cheap as $125 is our cheapest. We have an 8th page ad all the way to a full page ad. We'll also do a auction at the end once we've closed ad sales, which is April 15th. I'll be honest, we usually push it to April 20th, but right in there, we'll do an auction for some of the larger, like the centerfolds, the front cover, not the front cover, the front inside cover, good God,